Book The New Map, Chapter 27, Iran's Revolution. The battle today between Saudi Arabia, the largest oil producer in OPEC, and Iran, normally one of the other major ones, is a struggle for predominance across the map of the Middle East. It is a battle shaped by the clash of religion, ideology, and national interests, and by the drive for primacy. Oil is integral to this battle, and the impacts, in turn, are global. The scorn with which Iran and Saudi Arabia regard each other is hardly muted. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's current supreme leader, denounces the Saudi royal family as sinful idols of arrogance and colonialism, as idiots and milk cows for the Americans, and as heartless and murderers. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, in turn describes Khamenei as the Hitler of the Middle East, trying to conquer the world. MBS adds, "If you see any problems in the Middle East, you will find Iran." The religious roots and this struggle go back to the 7th century and the battle that ensued after the death of Prophet Muhammad. Who would be his successor? His father-in-law, Abu Bakr, or his cousin and son-in-law, Ali. The Sunni are followers of Abu Bakr, who became the first caliph, but his legitimacy was and is contested by the Shia, the party of Ali. Each group regards the other as heretics. For all Muslims, of course, whether Sunni or Shia, Medina or Mecca in Saudi Arabia are sacred cities. The Shia are the majority in theocratic Iran and in Iraq and in Bahrain. They are also significant in eastern Saudi Arabia, Syria, where the ruling Alawites are deemed a Shia offshoot, Lebanon, Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and India. The Houthi in Yemen are today, if not always, considered a Shiite-related sect. So the Houthis. In the 1960s, Shia Iran, under Shah Mohammad Pahlavi, and Sunni Saudi Arabia were allied in their opposition to their common enemies. Soviet encroachment in the region, Ba'athist, Arab socialism, and most notably, as already noted, to Nasser and his Pan-Arab campaign. But at the beginning of the 70s, when the British decided that they could no longer afford to maintain a military presence in the Gulf, the Shah, former king of Iran, with the strong support of Washington, stepped forward to be the regional power, the policeman of the Gulf. The Saudis saw him as a megalomaniac. The Shah, the former king of Iran, pushed for pell-mell modernization and rapid economic growth. The flood of petrodollars that came with the fourfold increase in oil prices that followed the October 1973 war enabled him to push even faster and to spend massively on weapons. The oil wealth may have driven growth. It also turned Iran into a case study for the resource curse, leading to rampant inflation, mushrooming slums, wasteful and unproductive expenditures, and widespread corruption, all of which meant vast social dislocation, which fed rapidly growing discontent and opposition across the political and social spectrum. The Shah's most resolute enemy was the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, an austere, single-minded, narrow, and intensely devout of Shia eclectic, implacable in his resistance and ruthless in destroying those who stood in the way of an Islamic republic ruled by the clergy, the leaders of religious services. From exile, Khomeini called for an Islamic revolution. The country was thrown into turmoil by strikes and larger demonstrations marked by increasing violence. In January 1979, with his regime crumbling, the Shah left Iran. 2 weeks later, the 77-year-old Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to a tumultuous reception. Shortly after, Khomeini proclaimed himself the supreme leader of the revolution. Critics of the Shah rushed to embrace Khomeini. In the New York Times, a prominent Princeton professor trumpeted how Khomeini would provide a desperately needed model of humane governance and got a third world country. Khomeini and his followers moved to consolidate power. Hundreds were shot in a few months on the roof of Khomeini's headquarters in 1979. In November, after the Shah was admitted to the United States for cancer treatment, a mob of young Iranian zealots, like the ones with extreme ideas, following the Imam's line, invaded the U.S. Embassy. They were to hold 52 American diplomats hostage for 444 days under degrading conditions. Khomeini and his allies used the seizure of the hostages as the opportunity to take complete control. The Ayatollah introduced the new constitution that is the basis for political power in Iran today. It enshrined, like to remember and protect, the Velayed and Faqih, the guardianship of the Islamic jurists, and the ultimate power of religious scholars, like the religious educated person, with Khomeini having final say as the chief jurist, the expert in law, or supreme leader. Since he takes his authority from Allah, his word is therefore unchallengeable. The supreme leader has control over the Guardian Council, which decides who can run for office and has final approval over parliamentary acts. He also has control over the Revolutionary Guards, the mainstay, a very important part of the region, and of the media and judiciary. The elected presidency is subordinate to the supreme leader. Under this new constitution, there were few bounds on the authority of the Ayatollah Khomeini. His legitimacy, he asserted, came from the Prophet, and from God, and from his expertise in Islamic law. In short, one scholar has written, Khomeini had obtained constitutional powers unimagined by Shahs, the former king of Iran. While Iranian presidential campaigns and the shift they may portend get global attention, these constitutional arrangements and Islamic Republic under the control of the most conservative parts of the Shiite clergy remain the foundation for the way Iran is ruled today. This theocratic regime would have taken control of the economy to a much greater degree than did the Shah's regime, both directly and through foundations, and the Revolutionary Guard, which is the way Iran's economy works today. The Iranian Revolution shook the regional geopolitical order and cemented deep fault lines that run through the region today. Khomeini's new constitution made abundantly clear that the revolution was not just for Iran, but also was meant to form a single world community. Khomeini himself declared, Iran has only been the starting point. The objective was to destroy all oppressive and criminal regimes, To this end, he proclaimed that Iran must export the revolution to other countries and reject the idea of containing within our borders. Major targets for Khomeini would include Saudi Arabia, Egypt's President Anwar Sadat, who had the temerity to make peace with Israel in 1979, the Little Satan, Israel, and the Great Arrogance, the United States. The Iranian Revolution would draw the United States much more deeply into the Middle East, would shape American foreign policy to the present day, and would have far-reaching effects on the region itself. And then on the chapter 28, the author will bring highlights on the wars in the Gulf. But then it goes to the next video.